a little bit here, 38.2 fib. We explain this in our course as well. 38.2 fib is very good. In fact, my favorite. 38.2 is good. 50 fib is good. 61.8, certain circumstances, but not always. The golden fib that built the pyramids or whatever, however it worked, that's not that's not necessarily that golden always in the markets. It's good for certain occasions and certain things. So in our private community, I did a video yesterday and we were talking about scenarios where the market starts to weaken. And one of the things that I was mentioning was that we actually haven't seen any real change of trend the whole way through this. And what I mean by that is it's always been making higher peaks and higher troughs and higher peaks and higher troughs. This is the first time where we have a peak, we have a trough, we have a lower peak, and we have a lower trough. We've also busted through this little trend line that's coming up. So it theoretically does look quite negative on these charts. Let's go over to the daily and now start to break it down. So does it look more negative than positive? You'd have to say short term, yeah, it does. What could happen next? Well, there are several people out there that are calling for these types of numbers. And I think, again, it makes some sense. You get a fib retracement out. You think about it similar to the scenario we had before, which was XLY. They're getting near these moving averages, 20-50 moving average, sitting just above a 38.2 fib, which is sitting just above, all of these previous kind of resistance here. So we've got resistance becoming support right around it. And there's a box zone here where I think many people will have to be careful on how they treat this market. It's bullish at the moment. It probably will have some kind of buy the dip mentality. Now that's obviously a guess. It's based on what we're seeing in the sentiment. But if it pulls back, many people will be willing to buy it, and especially into the month of April. That's just the reality of the data and how we see it right now. If it falls straight through, well, that's going to be a different story, but it seems unlikely. Here we have the SP 500, and again, we've got a nice decline here. We scroll through, we grab this, and you're thinking maybe a 38.2, maybe a daily. So these are the areas that you're starting to focus on. Between that 50 and that 38.2, we have previous resistances. We've got a little bit of resistance here, which could act as support. We've got dynamic support as well. So it's a bit of a range, but certainly an area. And remember, it's not so much about picking the perfect price. A scalper might say, I have to be within the point. But somebody that is a day trader or a swing trader or a multi-month trader or an investor or whatever, they're not caring too much about the exact price. They just want to be in the right zone. And that's what you're really looking for. You're looking for supply, you're looking for demand, you're making that, and you're also looking for potential imbalances or participation phases in the market. It all becomes very important to understand these concepts. So let's talk about Bitcoin. Obviously, S&P 500, it becomes pretty clear. I'll just go back there quickly. If it breaks a new high, next level you would think is around that 47.50. Previous resistance across here, very strong level of resistance. So breaking a new high, okay, cool. Things are on, risk is on, April, that type of stuff. But for now, it does look more weak than positive. So let's talk about Bitcoin. It's dropping. As we know, Bitcoin is basically a risk on, risk off asset. It still looks really great on the charts. Obviously, a bit weaker here in recent days. Where does it stop? Does it stop at the bottom of the box down here? 44,000 potentially. That makes some sense. Let's grab a fib out. Again, if you're feeling bullish on this chart right now, you might want to grab a fib from the top to the bottom. Understand where that fib is, which is sitting around that 38.2, 20, and the 44,000. So yeah, it's around the right area down here. It makes some sense. Some things we want to check though before looking at Bitcoin. Remember, if it breaks to a new peak, we're talking 52 is the next resistance. That's a pretty big deal. Is Bitcoin short? So BTC short's dropping here. So it's not like the big whales, the nasty whales out there, are shorting Bitcoin. In fact, they're not really looking at necessarily being negative here. That's a good lead indicator showing us that there might be some strength here as long as the stock market can hold up as well. And then we move over to Ethereum. Now, is Ethereum holding better than Bitcoin? This is the question we've been asking ourselves for the last week. And we've theorized that Ethereum is better than Bitcoin right now. And guess what? It totally is. Comparatively, ETH-BTC ratio has held well. It still wants to break through. It's still theoretically underpriced to Bitcoin, theoretically. And of course, if Bitcoin drops more, if Bitcoin gets tanked, obviously Bitcoin's going to hold better than Ethereum. But if this is just a pullback and an overall rally, there is a real potential here that Ethereum may still continue to outperform based on this chart. So bringing this stuff in is super important to our understanding of the markets. Obviously, if you haven't already followed us, come and do so on FX Evolution on Twitter. We post a lot there. Join our Discord community, links in the description below. And remember, this is non-farm payroll. So Friday, we have non-farm payroll change. That's a huge reason why I think a lot of risk off came through. The reason, it's scary. Going into something like non-farms, sometimes it can move markets a few percentage points. Sometimes it doesn't that much. But because every bit of economic news at the moment matters to the market, this will be what all eyes are on. 8:30 a.m. New York time and 10 a.m. ISM manufacturing PMI. Now, a lot of people always ask me, Tom, what do you think about the employment change? Where do you think it will go? Here's the problem. I don't really think anybody really knows. And the reason why is because even the market has no idea what it wants to do with it. Sometimes you'll see, if you've watched enough non-farm payrolls, the news will come out, and agree with me in the comments if you've seen this. Verify it for everybody. Tell me if you've seen this. It'll go off in one direction and then completely reverse about 15 minutes or an hour later and go off in the other direction. And it's because of the complexity of the number. They want to find out whether it's real or whether it's fake. Where did the jobs come from? All of these types of things. So if you agree with that, put it in the comments down below. Obviously, subscribe if you enjoyed today's video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. Good luck on Friday.